Hi everyone, I hope you are all well and I hope you had a very happy, merry Christmas holidays during, this end of this crazy ass year. I can't believe we're on the 29th of December now. That's crazy. I'm back to work on Monday, so I'm just going to have the rest of this time off and make it count. I want to show you, before I start talking about the book I've been reading, I want to show you what my mum and dad got me because I am in love. This is Lucy the llama. She's a footstool, and my mum made these fantastic accessories to go with her, and I absolutely love her. I think she's wonderful. A very unexpected present for me to get, but yeah, I absolutely am in love with her. So she's going to be living in my house now and joining me on my adventures through various books, and I am very happy. But I just had to show you her because she is just so sweet. I love her. Anyway, so yeah, I spent Christmas with my mum and dad, which was absolutely lovely. We are now in tier 3 because all the tiers, well, not all of the tiers, but the majority of the tiers changed in the UK, well, in England, shall I say, because obviously Scotland and Wales have their own, and Northern Ireland have their own different systems and such. But yeah, the tiers in England changed on Boxing Day. So we are now in tier 3. And yeah, I've just been carrying on doing what I have been doing. Because I'm in a social bubble with my mum and dad, it means that even with the tiers and such, social bubbles still stand. So I've been able to just spend Christmas as kind of usual, as it were. Apart from we did get to see my sister and her husband and her kids. But we had a nice thing over Zoom with them and such, and we played games and we watched TV and all that. It was just really nice having a Christmas at home with my mum and dad. It was really lovely, and now we're sort of in that weird in-between part between Christmas and New Year where you can't remember what day of the week it is or even what the date is. That's why I had to look at the date in the corner of my laptop just now. But yeah, I've been catching up on a load of TV and just chilling out. And the National Theatre production of Jane Eyre, that I absolutely loved during lockdown, the first lockdown, should I say, via their YouTube channel, aired on Sky Arts last night. So I stayed up and I watched that, and it was absolutely amazing. And I've recorded it so I can keep a copy on my Sky box, which I'm very happy about. So that's what I've been up to. I got a couple of books for Christmas, which I will be talking about in a later video. And actually, I'm filming all day today. This is the first of 5 videos that I'm filming today. So so possibly in the next few videos, you'll hear my voice just like fade away for all the talking I'm going to be doing. But anyway, let's talk about my final book of 2020. I can't believe it. It is Scythe by Neal Shusterman. Now, this is a first book of a trilogy. I know that it's the first book of a trilogy, but because my sister, the way that I came to know about this book was that my sister read it, I think it was around April, May time, and for my birthday in June, because I remember I got the book from her for my birthday not long after she read it. I got this. I got 2 books. I've read one, Lord of Shadows, and then I got this. And she said, it is really good. It's really good. You have to read it. She did start the second book of the trilogy, but it got distracted by other stuff. And now that I've been reading it, she sent me messages this morning saying that she's going to pick it up again. And I'm like, yes, because she got distracted from it in the summer and hasn't gone back to it, so she's going to pick it up now. So, Scythe, first of all, what a fucking beautiful cover is that? I mean, my God, look at it. Absolutely stunning. Now, this is a dystopian novel that just makes you stop as soon as you saw that cover on the bookcase and at Waterstones. I would stop instantly and pick this up. That is bloody beautiful. And on the cover at the top, it says, a true successor to the Hunger Games. And I read that and I thought, okay, that's an interesting quote. Let's see how good that. Now, I'm not saying that's because the Hunger Games is the pinnacle of greatness in dystopian teen novels, because there are loads of them. They're all completely unique. So this is why I'm like, okay, right. That's really interesting to say that. To hold Hunger Games that high. I do love the Hunger Games trilogy, just to clarify. I'm not saying it's crap, because I love the Hunger Games trilogy, but I'm like, to compare it specifically to the Hunger Games because of what the Hunger Games is about, I was like, ooh, okay. What it's really about, shall I say. I was like, oh, okay. So I went into this not with high expectations, as it were, because I've never read any Neal's books. I only knew what I knew from the back cover of the synopsis. I was just like, right, let's see how this goes. Now, the first 4 days that I read this book was Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, Boxing Day, and the day after Boxing Day. Those 4 days, I only got through like 100 pages, but then I was constantly being distracted, which was really annoying and tough. And then yesterday morning, I woke up and I'm like, I want to read. And I sat down and I got through nearly the entire of this book. I had about 50 pages left, 50 to 100 pages left when I woke up this morning. And I just instantly, when I got up, wiped my eyes, realised, right, I'm up for the day, can't get back to sleep, read, go. And I finished it. And oh my God, it was so good. Now, Scythe, I realise I'm 6.5 minutes in and I have yet to tell you what this book is about. Sorry. So Scythe is set, it kind of is a dystopian novel, but it doesn't actually explain itself, because it's around 2042 is a year that is referenced in this book, but I can't remember, because it was in that haze of those 4 days. I can't remember if 2042 was the year that it's set, or 2042 was the year when stuff changed and this new world began. I have a feeling it's the latter. So it's some time after that. And basically, death is now, in a way, obsolete. It's something that happens to you, but it only happens via a professional scythe. A scythe is somebody who goes out and kills people, but it's kind of, it's ending people's lives because it's their time, but it's done completely randomly. So what I mean by that is, like, say, because like one of the deaths that we come across, the deaths are known as gleaning. It is a teenage boy who is quite popular in school. He's about 17 years old. He's just bought a car. And because of statistics of the amount of deaths and accidents that relate to new drivers, especially teenage drivers, he's basically ticked the box for every single category for that stat, and therefore he gets gleaned. So as you can see, so sometimes it's not a case of you've reached the appropriate age for you to die. It is random. And with the new technology, because people can't die, you can have accidents, you can what is known as deadening yourself, which is basically doing absolutely the worst thing possible yourself to get you near to death, but you won't die. You get sent to a facility where you're basically brought back to life. You're healed within like 2 days, and then you're back to your normal life. And people have the ability also, because it's completely random as to when you will die, people have the ability to also change how they look. So you could be 200 odd years old, but you could look like a 20-year-old. So everybody, you're really unsure if the teenager you're talking to is a teenager, if the adult you're talking to is an adult. You know, it's a very interesting world. So basically, you can't die until you get killed by a professional scythe, and everybody wants to, in a way, have a dignified death, but you don't know how you're going to die. There are every possible method you can think of dying is available through a professional scythe. So you're not necessarily just going to die from a stabbing. You could be shot, you could be shot, you could be stabbed, you could be drowned, you could be poisoned. Anything kind of goes. Okay. So we have two characters, Citra and Rowan, who both get approached by a professional scythe called Faraday, who takes them on as apprentices and teaches them the ways of being a professional scythe. But no one's ever taken on two apprentices, only ever one. And when they have these like various tests through their apprenticeship, they basically get told, no, that's not gonna, you can only have one. So we'll put them against each other. Whoever wins the apprenticeship then has to kill the other one. And it's like, excuse me? So it's all about them training up and everything and going through that and finding out some truths about the world that they never knew existed. And as I said, this is the first book of a trilogy. So yesterday was really the day when I sat down and properly read this book. And oh my God, my sister was not wrong. It was so good, guys. Like, I was flabbergasted by this book. It is a narrative where it's all done in third person, but every chapter ends with a diary entry of a scythe, a professional scythe, because they have to, by the laws, they've got 10 commandments that they have to follow, and they have to write diary every single day. They've got quotas that they've got to meet, and they're very distinct because of their robes. As you can see, a lovely red robe here, and a ring that they wear. So these diary entries are basically the diaries of these professional scythes who are, at first, when I was reading it, because there was one particular scythe who was constantly, we were reading diary entries of for about half the book. And I was like, who the heck is this person? Why are you having me read, these diary entries of this random person we don't know? And then we met that person and I'm like, clever. I liked that technique. So it's so as I said, third person, apart from these diary entries, which of course is first person because it's a diary. And it is written in such a simple way, which is full of world building, full of such complex characters, which is full of a really fantastically paced narrative, full of politics, full of deceit, full of just all of this boldness. And I kind of saw it like, it's almost like when you see, kind of like, the films for like Star Trek, when they're, I can't remember exactly where they are, but like this kind of, in a way, like Golden City, and everything is gleaming, everything is shining, everyone's in these bold colours. That's the world that I saw in my head. And then I saw like this dark lingering underlining and such. And I fell completely head over in love with this. One thing I really appreciated was clearly there is a love story element in this book, or in this series of books. And it first got established in this book. And as soon as it happened, it's to do with Citra and Rowan wrestling. And a line gets put in there saying that Citra didn't want the certain position that she was in. She didn't want them to move out of that for quite some time. And I was like, oh God, here we go. It's a teen dystopian book. There has to be a romance. It's going to get all mushy and blah, blah, blah. Nope, none of that. Neal's like, it's kind of like a thrown off line. And I really appreciated that we've got a completely underdeveloped, utilized romance theme in a teen book, because it's real. You don't have it that everything is all about teen heartbreak and all. And I was like, oh my God, is there another guy that's going to turn up and then it's going to become a love triangle thing? No, that never happened. And so I really, really, really appreciated that. I, honest to God, totally agree with that quote that it is the perfect successor for the Hunger Games. Oh my God, yes. The way that it talks about politics and corruption. And I loved things like there's so many different references, because the before this whole thing happened, this change in 2042, it kind of refers to our time is known as the mortality time, because that's a time when people could die just naturally and such. That was a time where they used words like murder and all this lot. But this new world, they don't use that. So when they come across these words and these weird items and such, these weird books and weird references, I'm like, oh my God, that is so genius. That is so genius. Like the cloud that, you know, we use for storing and such, it was all to do with this shift happened with the cloud, and it's now known as the Thunderhead. And what you learn from the Thunderhead, it was like, oh my God, this is ridiculously brilliant, yet it's so simple, and it is so quiet and underlining, and I'm really excited. I love the fact that it all stayed down here. There were some bits obviously that went higher up because of action sequences that were happening, but the underlining it stayed at this level, and I have a feeling then this second book is going to slowly rise, and then it's going to get really big in the third book. I am so impressed with how Neal has written this book. I'm really excited to read the next book, and I am kicking myself that I left this to be the last one, because I've already figured out what I'm reading in 2021 and I don't have the next book. So I've kind of very subtly told my sister, you know, if you bought me the second book for my birthday, that wouldn't be a bad thing. But I think I said, right, what, a few books ago when I read We See Everything, that it would be a good book to introduce young adults, or, you know, in early teens, introduce dystopia to them. I think this is way better. I honest to God do. This is so subtle and unique and simple yet complex, and so full of characters who I'm really intrigued by and I want to know more about going forward. I'm just, yeah, this is up there with Hunger Games, guys. This is wow, this is a good one. So I'm really excited to read the next book. But we'll have to see. Probably my birthday, I'll get that, which is in June. So it might be some time before I get to read the second book and review it. But for a first novel of a trilogy, damn, that was good. So I want to do a bit of a reading from it. So this is where Citra and Rowan are at a supermarket with Scythe Faraday. Now, all Scythes basically they don't have to worry about food. They just literally have to worry about these 10 commandments that they have to follow. They are immortal, basically. They can do whatever the hell they want, but as long as it's within those 10 commandments. But they don't have to worry about food. They don't have to worry about any of that whatsoever. They get it. And so they've gone to a supermarket. And one thing you need to know for this reading, which I forgot to mention, was that they have a ring, and this ring is like a DNA scanner, and they can grant immunity to people. So if you become a Scythe, your family get immunity for the whole time that you are alive as a Scythe. But say you came to a situation where there was somebody there and they gave you a load of information, you were quizzing them about something, you could allow them to then kiss your ring, and the ring will grant them that kiss, because they've had that DNA, will then grant them immunity for a year. So it's very important, the ring. So you'll need to know that for this reading. Okay. So as I said, they're at a supermarket, and yeah, they're just shopping around. So as they continued to shop, it was Citra who first noticed two suspicious-looking teens who seemed to be tracking them through the store, lingering behind them, trying to look like they were just shopping. They were particularly unsavouries, people who found enjoyment in activities that bordered on the fringe of the law. Sometimes unsavouries actually broke the law in minor ways, although most lost interest eventually. because they were always caught by the Thunderhead and reprimanded by peace officers. So peace officers are basically the police who follow the instructions of the Thunderhead, and Thunderhead watches everyone because it controls all the CCTV and all that stuff. So the Cloud has gone from being a storage thing to basically Big Brother. I've lost my place now. There we are. Right. The more troublesome officers were tweaked with shock nantes in their blood, just powerful enough to deter any scoffing of the law. And if that didn't work, you got your own personal peace officer 24/7. Citra had an uncle like that. He called his officer his guardian angel and eventually married her. She tugged on Rowan's sleeve, bringing the unsavouries to his attention, but not to Scythe Faraday's. Why do you think they're following us? They probably think that there's going to be gleaning and they want to watch, suggested Rowan, which seemed a likely theory. As it turned out, however, they had other motives. As the three of them waited in the checkout line, one of the unsavouries grabbed Scythe Faraday's hand and kissed his ring before he could stop him. The ring began to glow red, indicating his immunity. Ha! Said the unsavoury, puffing up his strategic triumph. I've got immunity for a year and you can't undo it. I know the rules. Scythe Faraday was unfazed. Well, yeah, good for you, he said. You have 365 days of immunity. And then looked him in the eye and said, and I'll be seeing you on day 366. Suddenly the team's smug expression dropped, as if all the muscles that held up his face had failed. He stuttered a bit, and his friend pulled him away. They ran out the store as fast as they could. Well played, said another man in line. He offered to pay for the Scythe's groceries, which was pointless because Scythe's got the groceries for free anyway. Will you really track him down a year from now? Rowan asked. The Scythe grabbed a roll of breath mints from the rack. It's not worth my time. Besides, I've already meted out his punishment. He's going to be worrying about being gleaned for a whole year. A lesson for both of you. A Scythe doesn't have to follow through on this threat for it to be effective. Then a few minutes later, as they were loading the grocery bags into the public car, the Scythe looked across the parking lot. There, he said. You see that woman? The one who just dropped her purse? Yeah, said Rowan. Scythe Faraday pulled out his phone, aimed the camera at the woman, and in an instant information about her began to scroll on screen. Naturally, 96 years of age, physically 34, mother of 9, data management technician for a small shopping company. She's off to work after she puts away her groceries, the Scythe told him. This afternoon we will go to her place of business and glean her. Citra drew an audible breath. Not quite a gasp, but close. Rowan focused on his own breathing, so he didn't telegraph his emotions the way Citra had. Why? He asked. Why her? The Scythe gave him a cool look. Well, why not her? You had a reason for gleaning Carl Whitlock. Who? Citra asked. A kid I knew at school, when I first met our Honourable Scythe here. Faraday sighed. Fatalities in parking lots make up 1.25% of all accidental deaths during the last days of the age of mortality. Last night I decided I would choose today's subject from a parking lot. So all this time while we were shopping you knew it would end with this, Rowan said. I feel bad for you, said Citra. Even when you're food shopping, death is hiding right behind the milk. It never hides, the Scythe told them in a world weariness that was hard to describe. Nor does it sleep. You'll learn that soon enough. But it wasn't something that either of them was eager to learn. So as you can see with their apprenticeship, they are learning about death. They are learning about all these different ways you can die. They are learning about how you choose people, how you make your quota. And when you meet different Scythes, and every single Scythe has their own technique on how they choose people to die and the way that they die, it's so fascinating. But there's this overall political arch to it, very much in a way like Hunger Games with the underlining political corruption. I'm like, oh, hell yes, I'm loving this. I'm loving this. I think it's so well structured. It is so perfect world building. It is so simply written with such an elegance, with such complexity. I just think it's a perfect dystopian novel. And this is the first of a trilogy. So I'm really excited going forward to see where this story goes, what happens to Rowan and Citra, and what they're going to do about what's happening. And yeah, I'm trying to say that without giving anything away. But the ending, oh, Neal, wow, what an ending. What an ending. I loved it. And now I'm probably going to have to wait 6 months to to read the second book. But oh well, we'll just have to see what happens. I might give in and buy the second book. I don't know. But we'll see what happens. But yeah, so that was my thought on Scythe by Neal Shusterman. So, would I read this again? Yes. Oh yes, definitely yes. This is not going to be leaving my bookcase anytime soon. Would I read more of Neal's books? Definitely. As far as I know, he'd written a load of books, I think, before Scythe, and I'm sure he's written books after. When did this actually get published? I didn't find out. So this was first published in 2016. So yeah, he's probably got 1, maybe 2 books since finishing the trilogy, I would have thought, out. So yeah, I definitely have a look into Neal's other works. Would I recommend this to anyone? Absolutely, yes, definitely. I think it's absolutely fantastic. And I would, as I said, if you want a book to introduce dystopia to teens, I would definitely recommend this. And this can sit alongside the Hunger Games, the Maze Runners, the all those absolutely fantastic Divergent, that was it. Sorry, I was thinking the third set of trilogies completely blanked out my mind then. The Divergent books, I think it's A+. I am so happy that this was my last book of the year. It was what high to end on. So thank you, Neal. So have you read this book? I'd love to know what you think. Leave me a comment in the comments box below, or give me a thumbs up, thumbs down. It's entirely up to you. I'll let you decide. And yeah, I can't believe it. I will be back with my review of the year. That is crazy. So yeah, so I expect the review of the year, what I'm going to be reading in 2021, the first 5 books I will be reading of 2021, and I've done a clear out of my books. Oh, shocker, I know. So let's find out what books I'm getting rid of and why. So yeah, look out for those. I'll be back with those as soon as I can. And yeah, have a good new year. If you don't see me you don't watch my other books before I start 2021. Not watch my other books. What am I saying? Oh God, my mind. Watch my other videos before 2021 starts. Have a happy new year. I'll see you later, guys. Bye.